everybody. It's Diane Brandon Moody here again with 50-Something Love, the podcast for all things for women over 50. I am a dating coach specializing in women over 50. I have helped some men. I'm always happy to help men, but it's usually women over 50. And on this podcast, we talk a lot of things. I do some coaching of potential clients, and we talk health, we talk menopause, we talk sexuality, relationships, and pretty much anything else that strikes my fancy. So here we are today, and we are talking to Deanna Marie, who is a coach for women who are in alcoholic relationships. So I find that to be completely fascinating, Deanna. And I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I came to this to become a life coach for women in alcoholic relationships because I came in way of life experience. And I was married to an alcoholic for 20 years, and that is about 18 years ago. And at that time, I was really looking for resources for me to help me. And if I'm going to be honest with everyone, to help me learn how I could fix my husband so he would stop drinking and then we could all live happily ever after. And unfortunately, as many of us know, and now that I'm educated life coach, we can't change other people, right? And at that time, I did go to Al-Anon and I went to therapy, and they were very helpful on my journey to recovery and building my confidence. But I never really found like a resource for me that was just for me. Like in Al-Anon, if anyone's familiar, you kind of sit around and you share, and then you can talk one-on-one with people before or after the meeting. And in therapy, it's just you're a therapist, obviously, and they're talking back and forth, and they're really not going to offer advice. And that's how I'm different in my coaching business. I actually offer advice due to my life experience on living with an alcoholic, and also all the education I've gotten over the years of living, of just working with these people and just reading up and getting more educated on alcoholism itself. So that's the long answer. I came here, and since I never found that resource for someone to really hold my hand and support me 24/7 and always be there for me on the crappiest of days, that's what I do now. And I am there to support my clients from the beginning right to the end.
Thank you so much for that. I bet a lot of coaches get to this business through life experience. And I bet there's a huge feeling of satisfaction when you can help people live a life that they probably wouldn't be living if they had their way about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's not just a woman in alcoholic relationship thing. I mean, I think it's a pervasive thing through all of our way of life. And it's also for you, Diane, even in your business, like we get to a point where we think it's just not going to happen for us. It's only for other people. We can't do it. I don't know how to do it. And there's so much fear driven beyond everything. Like for you, and I'm a little familiar because I was divorced and a single mom for like 6 years before I met my current partner. And there's a lot of fear there and going out into the dating world as it is leaving a relationship and being fearful that no one will ever want to date you again, So it's just always thinking that it's always worse on the other side. And our brain will always tell us all the reasons why we can't do these things and we won't be successful. And only until you truly decide, and I think you know this too, Diane, that you are going to do it regardless of what everyone is telling you not to do, and push your way forward, that you can finally make it. And it's so much greener over here.
I can so relate because I think I was about 53, 54, and my mother asked me, well, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? And
Yeah.
of course, my mother, she's almost 85, and she comes from a time when women just didn't survive without a husband. So I take what she said with a bit of a grain of salt, but she was saying, like, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I haven't given up on getting married yet. And she looked
Yeah.
at me like I had three heads. Like I
Yeah.
was 53, 54, however old I was. And I was like, I just haven't given up yet.
Yeah.
Not that I felt like I needed that to survive in the world, because I had survived up to that point just fine. But you know what I mean? It's like that was her question. So I can certainly understand how just being an ear and a coach and a help to people who feel like there's absolutely nowhere else to turn, that they're doomed, that life is going to suck from now on, how that must be just worth everything to them.
Yeah, there's so many emotions that you go through in so many waves, right? Like I went through that wave like you had just mentioned. It's like, well, I laid it and I made my bed. I'm gonna have to lay in it. This is just gonna be it. So suck it up, buttercup, and make the best out of it. And then you go through the emotions of like, I got to get the hell out of here. But then you go through the guilt of, I have small children and I can't do that to them because, they're going to be really messed up in the future. And um, I went through all those things and I left my husband. I took my two boys with me, and they are highly successful young men now. They're 30 and 26. And, but all those fears that I had of not moving forward and getting divorced were just things I was telling myself. And then only until I took the steps and you move through it and you get there, you're like, I'm so happy. And I will tell you, and this is the God's honest truth, as a little added bonus for me, my sons, both now men, have thanked me for leaving that relationship because their father is still in his addiction after 18 years beyond when I left. So, yeah, I've been through, and not only have I dealt with an alcoholic, I've been through a divorce. I'm a mom who raised two boys who thought like, I don't know how to raise boys. I went through this is the first time I've ever talked about this, a 10-year divorce process for a husband who was hiding from paying child support and wouldn't sign divorce papers. And so I've been through the legal systems in different states because he moved to a different state to get away from that. So I get it. I get it a lot. I've had a lot thrown at me. And because I've had that, I'm really able to help my clients. And on top of that, it's also, I have the family history. I married my father, right? All too familiar. My father was an
Mm.
alcoholic. I married an alcoholic. So, and I can unpack that with my clients too. So, there's a lot to work with.
It sounds like so much, and thank God you made it through, and thank God you're helping other people. Because I think those of us who are coaching in arenas where we've had the firsthand experience, I mean, I don't think I'd want to coach for dating if they got married at 22, or if they had never, you know, never gotten married and never had the struggles of, dating while a little bit older or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
sure some of your people feel the same way, that how could she possibly understand unless she can go, well, let me tell you all the ways I can understand. I've been through
Yeah.
this. And
Exactly.
it just makes a whole lot more sense, I think, for people.
Yeah, it does. It just helps them see it is possible for them too.
What are some of, without breaking any confidentiality, of course, but can you
Mhm.
tell us about some of the bigger struggles that they face aside from the ones that you already told us about?
Well, I'll tell you the pervasive one over, I would say probably she's 95% of well, probably 99% of my clients is they did not get into this relationship because they felt like they had nothing better to do. They got into this relationship because they truly loved this person. And then at that point in time, they envisioned a future for them.
Mm.
So there's so many. And then what happens is you get to this difficulty, or maybe you just didn't see it, like myself in the beginning, and then you realize later that there's an addiction or some other underlying issue going on. But you see the good and the kindness and the beauty of this person. And now, but you also see someone who is a monster and cruel and says things that says and do things that they would never do on a normal day. And how do you reconcile that in your brain and
Mm-hmm.
then and look at it and then say you want to go, or I'm going to stay? Like, so it's so difficult unless you're in that relationship to truly understand, because you love this person. And then, God forbid, if you have children with them, it just adds on another layer. And it's just reconciling the person from the addiction. And
Mm-hmm.
that is probably almost every client that I have, every client.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine how that would be such a difficult thing to deal with because um, it's like, who am I waking up next to today?
Yeah.
Like who is that? Is it the monster or the good person?
Yeah, we call it, like I've called it, and some of my other clients have also called it the same thing. It's the Jekyll and Hyde thing. Like,
Mm,
if they're not drinking today, they're the kind, loving person that we married and got into this relationship with. If they have, they could be that, that other person that is cruel and just someone that we just don't even recognize. So that is the struggle. And then deciding the future of your relationship, knowing that those two personalities exist in this one person.
mm, that's really tough. Um, so do you have any specific recommendations for them? Is it a case by case? Do you just help them get to the place where they can reconcile it, or how do you handle that? And again, without breaking confidentiality, which I know is important to all of our clients.
Absolutely. And I would say the bottom line is, I don't have any tips. It's all on a case by case basis, really. Everyone has autonomy to do what they like. I mean, I've had clients that have lived in what I would say are very hard, difficult situations, but have chose to stay. But that's their life and that's what they choose to do, and I respect it. But what I offer that client that I have and all my clients is the to try to empower them to create a life better, uh, create a better life tomorrow by working on it today.
Mm,
Because
hmm.
that's all you can do. Like, if you stay and you decide, like, for whatever, I'm too old, financial reasons, whatever, I can't leave, and they're saying I just don't want to leave, then we are going to work on that. We are going to try to find a way for you to build a better network, support group. We're going to get you out. We're just going to get you from the codependency of keeping you stuck in that home and try to move your life forward as much as we can within the constraints of living in this situation. Um, if you're looking if you're looking at your relationship and you're undecided, which most of the people that come to me are undecided, then we really narrow down, like, why is that you really want to leave? Like, what is your why? And then let's start uncovering every rock of, you know, why you're not leaving, or why do you want to go? And from there, you gain the insight of really what's best for you and empower you. And if you look under all those rocks and you're still comfortable about where you are, then stay. But if you start looking at it and you realize that all the reasons you're staying are not the reasons that you like, then maybe it's time to look at another choice. But it's all up to them to decide.
Yeah, of course. Wow. What kind of training did you go through for this?
Well, I'm a certified life coach through the Life Coach School, which is a 6-month intensive, and then 6 months after that, they have like entrepreneurial or training, though I know they've changed the program a lot then. And beyond my life experience, those two with my knowledge with therapy and Al-Anon and all the other things, I've accumulated
That's
quite some skills.
that's worth a lot. I don't mean to make it sound like,
Yeah,
like life isn't a
yeah,
valuable learning tool, because it certainly is. That's
yeah.
great. So if you could, and we're going to wrap this up in a second, because we always say we do the average length of a dog walk around here so people
Yep.
can listen and go on about their day. If you could give, first of all, where can somebody find you if they're interested in looking for you?
Well, if anyone is looking for help in their alcoholic relationship, and I also, like Diane said, I help men and women, even though primarily women. You can find me on my website, which is Deanna, Deanna Marie, lifecoaching.com. All my free resources are there. And also, Diane, I don't know when this is coming out, but I will tell you, starting in May, I'm so excited about this new opportunity that I just put out yesterday. Is I am offering a open forum. It's basically what I would call an online group therapy session. And I am not going to be providing the therapy. It's going to be all the women and men that are in that room who are providing the insight to the other attendees. So you can find that on my website. So that's starting May 2nd, and you can have more information there. And also my Facebook and Instagram are also Deanna Marie Life Coaching with 2 N's. So I make it pretty easy for everyone to try to find me.
That's awesome. Thank you. So
Thanks.
if you could leave them with one tip, I would imagine not everybody in the audience is with an alcoholic, but I imagine the statistics are pretty good that somebody is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could leave them with one particular tip besides contacting you, what would that tip
Yeah.
be?
I think the tip would be, if you're struggling in your relationship and you can't decide where you want to go with it in the future, ask yourself why you want to stay and why you want to go, and see which one aligns more for you, and write those down, because it's all internally in us. The answer is already there. When people come to me, they already know. They just kind of need a little push. We always know.
Yeah, we
We
do, don't
always,
we?
I knew, but I stuck it out for another 9 years. You always know. So why are you staying? Because of the money? And do you like that reason? If you do, go for it. If you don't, then let's and if you want to go and you're staying, well, what can you do? How can you take that next step? So
Awesome. That is great information. Thank you so much, Deanna Marie, for being with us today on 50-something Love. I really appreciate it. And you all can find her at Deanna Marie Life Coaching. And if somebody needs help, please get help. That's so important. You don't have to go through that all by yourself.
absolutely.
So once again, if you are looking to meet people in your 50s and beyond, I have that free resource on my website, 50 Places to Meet Men Over 50. And it's totally free. Just grab it and, then let me know. Give me some feedback. If you like it, if you don't like it, whatever. I'm happy to hear from you. info@dianebrandonmoody.com. So thank you again for being with us, Deanna. And I'm going to call it a day, and we're going to say thanks. And everybody have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.